I bet you can touch your nose with your thumb.
My nose?
You can't, right? It's the same with your toilet. There are many places in your toilet that detergents cannot reach. That is why the new Harpic 5 times complete gives you 5 times better cleaning than detergent from the rim all the way to the U-bend. Making your toilet completely clean.
Wow!
You might not be able, but with Harpic 5 times complete, you will definitely reach all the hard-to-clean places in your toilet.
Harpic Power Plus. Buy now for only 350 Naira.
In 1906, 3 separate police forces existed in Nigeria. These were the Lagos Police Force, the Northern Region Police Force, and the Southern Region Police Force. In the second half of 1906, the Colony and Protectorate of Lagos was merged with the Protectorate of Southern Nigeria. In 1914, the Colony and Protectorate of Southern Nigeria and the Protectorate of Northern Nigeria were merged to form the Colony and Protectorate of Nigeria. However, the Southern and Northern Nigeria police forces remained separate until 1930, when they were merged to form the current Nigeria Police Force, NPF. Thus, on 1st April 1930, what we have today as the Nigeria Police Force came into existence, with Lagos as headquarters. In the history of contemporary Nigeria, never has there been any organization as reviled and derided as the Nigerian Police Force. For most Nigerians, the police are the poster child for all that is wrong with the Nigerian society. This is the group most people dump their hips on, the organization most people love to slap around, the organization most people love to hate.
Police will arrest, detain. For example, they carry out most of the arrests, they go there on weekends, based on the advice of the so-called complainants. Maybe they want to suffer the person as a kind of like a way of taking a pound of flesh. Police will carry out an arrest on Friday evening, and they will head under the cover of public holidays, weekends, Sundays, Saturdays, or whatever, to keep the person even up to Monday and Tuesdays.
A policeman arrested a motorist. They checked the papers, they discovered the chassis number, they couldn't find the engine number, although the engine number was on the paper. So the motorist now asked the policeman to look for it. He didn't know. The motorist said that he didn't know where the engine number was written. Then the policeman insisted that the man should show him where the engine number was. He said that it is not my business to know, because we are supposed to be trained to know where every engine number is found. And the man was promptly arrested, taken to the police station with the vehicle. The tire deflated and all that. So we went to bail the guy and insisted that we are not going to pay for the reinflation of the tire, and that became a big problem.
Against this background, it must then be disheartening to be a member of the Nigerian Police Force. The police are everywhere, at every checkpoint, at border posts, at accident sites, at junctions directing traffic, and at every private and public security post. Their presence annoys many Nigerians, even those who need their services.
Two policemen, Uche and I am. They came to ask me money for food. Told them I didn't have any money. Shortly they came back. I said their boss asked them to bring me to their station.
One of them hit the bike and go on a station.
A day after, I ran into one of the police officers who took my motorbike.
Along the road, you just pay bike him.
I stopped him and was asking him about the whereabouts of my bike.
That's a son Magana station that they have to bike him.
He asked why I refused to follow them to the station on the day they asked me to come.
Yeah, Magant.
He gave me a slap. I returned the slap. We began to fight. I believe
on Sunday.
The incident happened on Saturday, and on Sunday, I went to my maternal home. I didn't know that they had laid ambush for me.
So my shake is has some water on my room.
So when they noticed my movement and I meant to run, they threatened to shoot if I ran. So they caught me and began to beat. They were 10, about 10. At some point, when the beating became unbearable, I began to beg, and one of them tied my hands back, and the others were beating me.
So,
Samuel Onawa, one of them shot me with.
After that,
shot me on the stomach. His head fell. He gave him another shot.
How low can it get when locals warn tourists and new immigrants to be careful of the Nigerian police? How sad. But it had not always been like this.
What we saw during our days is not longer what is happening today. It was the Nigeria Police Fire Service, the Nigeria Police Immigration Service, the Nigeria Police Customs Service, the Nigeria Police Narcotics, the Nigeria Police Federal Highway Patrol, the Nigeria Police, virtually everything, even the military, were born out of the Hausa Constabulary of the Nigeria Police. The police then were a better paid organization and respected. And when you go to the hospital, police cases, and they were all well accommodated, and their uniforms were available. And of course, these were during the expatriate days. So the Metropolitan Police, London, on which the Nigeria Police is tailored, were the ones that trained us. And trained many senior officers now who are in retirement. And we had the best of training locally and overseas. So funding was not a problem. And respectability was there because the policeman had comfort. If you went to secondary school with me and I joined the police and you joined the civil service, naturally I am more comfortable than you are. First, because I have free accommodation, I have free uniform, I have free Medicare, I have free transportation system, and everything was okay for the police.
I will tell you, the police we had up to January 15, 1966 was one of the best in the world. They were just about 12,000, but they policed the country very beautifully. We have over 300,000 policemen now. Not that they are no good one. In fact, the present crop of police, more educated. There are so many graduates, lawyers, engineers, accountants, economists among them. Our problem is that they're not well trained for police work. In colonial time, they had at Ibadan, Enugu, Kaduna, and Lagos forensic laboratories. They will look at fingerprint, they will look at handwriting. There are so many things they could investigate. That's for 12,000 policemen. Those are the only ones available now. The one out of Shudi, the forensic laboratory is there. The one in Kaduna is there. The one in Ibadan is there. The one in Enugu. They've not been improved. So the modern technology that DNA, the police can do it. The police are still, not until the evidence that I have to draft, Evidence Act, the police were still relying on going to court, tendering photograph. First negative, then before the main thing. No more negative with modern technology. And that was difficult to admit in evidence.
The history of the Nigerian police is a history of nobility, service, and sacrifice. It has a glorious past.
The decay began to mount through succeeding military administrations, different inspectors general of police, and till date. But the good news, like I would say, is that the situation is no longer as bad since we returned to democracy. Because as soon as we returned to democracy, a few changes were carried out by the then President Olusegun Obasanjo. And then when President Yar'Adua came on stream, may his soul rest in peace, he also faced the welfare of the police, upgraded their pay package, and was packaging a better welfare for them till death took him away. So till date, the police force is still begging for upgrade.
The situation is not good for them. More than 3/4 of police live not in the barracks, but in rented houses. Some of them rent houses of people who are thorough criminals, and there's nothing they can do about it. The police used to train for 6 months as recruits before they're given uniform. Now they send them there for 3 months. They teach them how to march, left, right, attention, stand at ease. It seems that's all they teach them. And substantial majority of them have not been given further training. Some of them are made inspectors later on in life through corporal, sergeant, inspector, ASP. But when you ask them basically what is the police work, most of them are at a loss. We need more police than we have now. The proportion of police to our population is one of the lowest in the world.
Then I was 2 years old, so my mom had to bring me back to Lagos to join the husband and my dad. We were together in a Ekponre police barrack, room 24. That was our room in a Ekponre police barrack. And I remember vividly that, growing up, all my dad's siblings and my mom's siblings, all of them, it was a room and parlor apartment, self-contained now. And they were all rammed into that room because everybody wants to be there, because it's so much joy, so much happiness, you enjoy it, And I remember we had a field, we had somewhere we called a field there, and there's a village called Ademuyiwa village. So, and they had a ballet then. So people from Ademuyiwa, they will come to that field, then we in the barracks, the Pony barracks, we go to that field again, we play ball, we do all sorts of things. And on Saturday is our laundry day. In the morning, very early as 6 a.m., all of us, we are all in the laundry. The water system is perfect, okay, we are all there, washing and all those things. Those are the things we do. And I remember the uniform then was khaki, the khaki, and they put on the socks, almost roll it, getting to the knee, and black shoe. And I remember when we want to polish the shoe, what we do is, the polish that was raining then was kiwi polish. So we use the kiwi, put cotton wool into the water, soak it, put it, dry it again, then put the kiwi polish, then begin to rub it on the shoe. And then after that, you rub it on the belt too. Then you leave it for about, for hours. Then after washing and everything, you go back to it, then you begin to shine. When after shining it, they put it back into the sun. And I must tell you that by the time you are done with it, you know that you have a clean shoe. And it's the washing. What we do is we use a lot of starch. So, and we wash, wash and wash and wash, put starch, dry it, and when it gets to like 2-3 p.m., then we now begin to iron. We iron, and it used to be a competition amongst children or policemen, because, and even our mothers, it used to be a competition that my dad is going to look okay on Monday, because on Monday morning when they go for their normal parade, all of them will be lying around. All of us will be looking at them, even before going to school, because their parade starts as early as 6 a.m. So you see them, in front of the barracks, and their commander or their DPO or whoever then, will be calling shots for them and all those things. And one of the things they have then is a part of their uniform is a white handkerchief. If you see a policeman, he must have his white handkerchief with him, because if you look at your shoe and you see a stain there, you immediately use the white handkerchief to clean it up and all that. So looking radiant, if they are belt and everything. In fact, you want to become a policeman. And as a young boy, my dream then was to grow up to become a police boy, a policeman. That was my dream. And I had that dream even up to the time I graduated from the Polytechnic before later going to the university. But later, by that time when I graduated, I saw that Nigerian police has changed totally. So my dream was shattered, and I said I wasn't going to be a policeman again because of the corruption, because of all the things we see policemen doing.
In recent years, however, the police have come to be known as the bastion of corruption, brutality, illegality, inefficiency, and institutional decadence. It is hard to tell when this negative transformation began, and harder still to pinpoint when the Nigerian police moved from being a pillar of grace and service to a cathedral of debauchery. Be that as it may, it is painful to think of the police as the epitome of all that is wrong with Nigeria.
I used to tell people that Boko Haram may be something that is worrisome to us, but it has become a wake-up call for security awareness in Nigeria. If you go to Abuja now, everybody is security conscious, blocking their passages, and everybody is making sure that access into their environment is not easy. These things were not there. We took everything for granted. Because there were so many churches, so many mosques that sprang up. So everybody believed that the Bible said if God is not watching, the watchman watcheth in vain. But that is not the issue. The issue is that although it is not biblical, but we also believe that heaven helps those who help themselves, because God does not have business with any man who is hopeless. You have to lift a finger because God can help you. But how much have we done as citizens of this country, as governments of this country, to upgrade and appreciate the people who face the bullets, who patrol the streets at night while others are enjoying their sleep. That is what the problem is. And that is why you have this recurrent emergence of today one government will appoint somebody, go and find out what is wrong with the police, let us do something about it. Reports are submitted, nothing is done. It lies waste. Another one comes, there's hue and cry, we need a better police force. After all, the police reflects the kind of country that the people are. If you come on the streets of any country, the policeman should tell you how security conscious that country is and how friendly they are. Because the policeman on the street is an image maker of the nation. He is the president standing, just like every policeman on the street of London is the Queen.
Yeah, you have to remove godfatherism in the police because a lot of police officers complain about people being promoted above them. Recent promotions that went by have seen a lot of police officers, complaining that some of their inferiors are being promoted far above them. Those who have committed crime are being promoted, are being compensated with promotion and juicy appointment. We have just reported, just on my birthday, that was 15th of May, we reported one to the Police Service Commissioner in Abuja that somebody who had been expelled from the school because he didn't take permission of the police force to go to study full-time in University of Abuja, he had been recommended by the former president, Umaru Yar'Adua, to be dismissed from the police and be tried for fraudulent practices. He had been caught several times cheating during the exam because he could not go to school to write the exam because he didn't take permission from his employers. So he contracted people to write the exam for him and he was actually caught. And there are records, in the internet, in the media, that this particular policeman ought not to be. He was first employed, he was first seconded to the EFCC and now made to go to SFU, the most sensitive integrity, required, section of the police, and nothing has been done, to show because a query had been issued. He was investigated. The University of Abuja confirmed that he was caught cheating in the exam, and instead of him being punished, he was posted to SFU to go and investigate those who perpetrated fraud. Even when it was fraud, he perpetrated to get to where he is. So how can such a person do any reasonable work? So the question of godfatherism should be removed because he has once that former IG that he dared him to remove him, to sack him. And of course, if he didn't have something at the back of his mind, and he was, as they said, to be one of the richest policeman you can find around.
Now today, there is a consensus that policing is ineffectual. That is a result, that's a governance failure. The question is, who do we hold accountable for that failure? Is it the governors? Is it the IG himself? Is it the National Assembly? Who does the law say is the CEO of the police? Section 9 of the Police Act says, operational command of the police shall vest in the president. So let us identify the president as the office to which we apply most pressure if we want police reform. Because without his input, nothing is going to happen.
How sad it is to know that owing to long years of neglect and abuse by successive governments, the police have remained incapable of effectively discharging their constitutional duties and social functions to the people. Consequently, the police have become the butt of jokes, contempt and ridicule, and occasionally community violence.
I give you an example that I've always given in so many other forums. If as we're sitting here now, if there's an explosion here, the first person all of us will be struggling to call is the police.
Straight.
As we are sitting here, if there's smoke gushing out from one part of this building and they say fire, 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 the next thing is call the police. Even though we have a fire service, we will still, oftentimes we are the one that mobilize the fire service. And even when you call the fire service, they will tell you if the police is not there, they won't come because we need to provide a kind of a backup for them, secure the environment for them to be able to work unhindered. The question is, the man you run to in your moment of need, in your moment of crisis, the man that if every other variable, every other option has failed, you will take recourse to, obviously must be a friend.
Lack of political will for genuine police reform, poor funding, lack of equipment for police operations, poor intelligence and investigative capacity, poor training in human rights, intelligence and investigation, and low morale as a result of poor working conditions hamper police effectiveness in providing public safety and security and facilitate police abuse, corruption, and misconduct. The general outlook for housing in the country is poor, but the outlook for the police is poorer. As usual, senior officers are better housed than the junior officers, derisively characterized as rank and file. These ones make do with accommodation that could be described as subhuman. Most junior officers are housed in one-room apartments sharing dilapidated facilities with others. The housing types provided vary from state to state, even within states. It varies according to the locations of the command. Those in cities where the pressure on police housing stock is higher have poorer accommodations, while those located in provincial areas are better accommodated. Some officers located in distant outposts sometimes live in huts. This has nothing to do with politics, but is due to simple laws of demand and supply for housing stock. The continuous massive recruitment of officers without upgrading and expansion of facilities has also created new challenges of accommodation for police planners. New barracks are not being built fast enough to accommodate the new recruits, thus worsening the already precarious accommodation crisis in police barracks. The substantial number of police officers also live outside the barracks because of the shortage of living spaces in the barracks. Most police barracks are eyesores and negatively impact on the well-being, morale, and attitude of police personnel and the way they interact with citizens. You will be amazed at what you will see when you pay a visit to most of the Nigerian police barracks. Dilapidated buildings, stinking gutters, broken staircases and railings, torn roofs, heaps of waste, and many other unpleasant spectacle in what clearly depicts neglect and squalor. These are what you will see. From the police barracks in Apapa, known as Queen's Barracks, to Mopole 2 Barracks in GRA Ikeja, Iponri Barracks, Area C Command Barracks close to Ojuelegba on Funsho Williams Avenue, and Police Training College Barracks in Ikeja, Lagos State Criminal Investigation Department, SCID, popularly known as Panti Police Station Barracks, Yaba, Lagos. All the barracks bear resemblances of themselves, except perhaps the Alausa Barracks, opposite the Lagos State Secretariat. The big question is, how will Nigerians expect anything good from police officers who live in these kinds of squalid environments?
I need to be frank with you. As I said, this barrack is as old as Nigeria, and with my knowledge, I heard the barrack was renovated once. That was in 1970 something. You can see. So this is to prove to you that those that are in charge of the community that are in charge of police welfare, they are not doing their job.
As you walk around these barracks, what comes to mind is that perhaps there is a correlation between the bizarre attitude of these men and women in black and the kind of environment they live in.
There is a solution, but the thing is, it now depends on the committee that was set up to look into the rehabilitation of the barrack. If they are able to join hands together with some other groups and groups within the barrack, because most of the people that we have been set up to look into the barrack welfare, they are people that some of them doesn't live in the barrack. They doesn't know what it takes to live in the barrack, how the people residing in the barracks maintain their environment. So if you set up a committee and majority of them does not stay in the barracks, they won't have the experience, or they won't know what it takes to sanitize the environment. So it is only when they partner, because I believe we have the police officer's wife association, they have the environmental committee, and in Ipoka too we have our own committee. So if they can join hands together with these three groups, I believe there will be a solution to all this environmental pollution we have within the barracks.
A visit to Mopo 2 barracks near the Lagos Police Command headquarters, GRA Ikeja, revealed scary pictures of buildings which have been left unmaintained for a long time. The roofs are removed, the paints are washed off, and the staircases are nothing to behold. Most of the railings are removed, thereby exposing the inhabitants, particularly the children, to danger. Also, the soakaway are in bad shape. Here, one sees human waste and dirty water everywhere, making the environment unfit for living. Open gutters, which are breeding abodes for mosquitoes, also expose the police officers and their families to frequent malaria attack. It was not surprising that wives of police officers under the aegis of Police Officers' Wives Association, POA, at Ikmoni, Lagos, recently cried out to the authorities, drawing attention to the sorry state of their abode. It is important to examine the impact of police budgets on the welfare of police officers in Nigeria by examining variables like weapons, other equipment, housing, medical facilities, education, and crime rates. On paper, a sizable chunk of police budgets are spent on acquiring modern weapons, but nothing could be farther from the truth in reality. Most policemen are armed with varieties of weapons, ranging from outdated Kalashnikovs to pump-action rifles. These weapons, apart from the menacing manner the police carry them about all the time in the public, are also grossly unwieldy and inadequate for effective policing. They dampen the morale and confidence of police officers and hamper their effectiveness when they come in contact with the superior firepower of bandits. Ammunition for these weapons are also rationed for the police officers, ensuring that the police cannot engage armed robbers with almost limitless supplies of ammunition in prolonged gun battles without suffering casualties. This mainly accounts for the unacceptably high casualty rate among police officers. Police officers are major targets of armed criminals who often have better guns, ammunition, and better intelligence and tactics. They drive better and faster cars than the police and have better incentives. Any wonder, then, that they typically outman, outgun, and outsmart the police?
When we came on board, you are aware of the fact that police stations have been attacked, policemen are being killed, banks are being attacked, money is being stolen without any action taken. Today, the situation is different, and you will see more action, you will see more vigor, and you see more efficiency and effectiveness in terms of police service and performance.
Other equipment and accessories are in the same shabby state. Most police divisions, stations, and outposts have no serviceable vehicles. The motor transport poles and the maintenance yards are full of scrap police vehicles with no spare parts to put them back on the road. Where such vehicles are available, there will be no fuel to drive them for operational purposes most of the time. Boots, uniforms, belts, and berets are not regularly issued, and this explains the shabby and disgraceful appearance of most Nigerian police officers. It is also a known fact that police officers sometimes have to buy their uniforms either from their own storemen or from the open markets. It is also obvious that most private security guards are better turned out than the Nigeria police officers. The remuneration and other benefits of Nigerian police officers are too poor compared to what police officers are paid in many other countries, including African countries. The poor remuneration is also lopsided against junior officers. Senior officers are relatively better paid than junior officers. Studies have shown that the average military officer receives about 4 times what the average police officer of equivalent rank receives. The poor take-home has often been cited by police officers as reason for their indulgence in criminal activities like extortion, bribe for bail, and collusion with criminal elements in the society. The poor salaries and allowances paid to police officers appear to reinforce and lock them into the poverty cycle since they are not able to save enough from their salaries to ensure a better future for themselves and their families. It is interesting, however, to note that Nigerian police personnel perform creditably better and are highly regarded when on foreign assignments. It is very rare to hear of Nigerian police personnel demanding bribe, charging money for bail, getting drunk while on duty, or demanding bribe from motorists when on foreign missions. It is also rare to hear of any case of accidental discharge by any Nigerian police personnel outside Nigeria. This could be attributed to the conducive environment and the adequate remuneration they receive, an average of $4,000 per month while on foreign assignments. The fear of losing this legal source of income and being returned home is enough to keep our police officers on foreign missions in check and stop their usual antics while on foreign assignment.
I've been privileged to see Nigerian police abroad. Not too far places. I've been privileged to see them in Angola, in Liberia, in Sierra Leone. In fact, in Angola, the National Police Chief of Angola, told me one day that he commended Nigerian police for the kind of job they did for them during the Angolan Civil War. But when I go back to Nigeria here, I see how our Nigerian policemen are being bashed, abused. They also abuse themselves. I ask myself, what went wrong? Why do we commend our people abroad? I want to get back home here. We tend not to, associate ourselves with Nigerian police.
Medical facilities available to police officers are generally inadequate compared with the armed forces. As a result of the deplorable state of police medical facilities in Nigeria, most senior police officers patronize private hospitals or travel abroad, while junior officers make do with quacks. Drugs are irregularly supplied, and when they are supplied, such drugs tend to disappear magically from the medical stores, only to reappear in private pharmacies owned by some of the medical personnel or their relatives. The police barracks in Nigeria are crime-ridden. Criminal acts are not limited to police officers alone. Their children and dependents, too, are even more involved. The most common crimes include burglary, pilfering and selling of police kits and equipment, selling of controlled substances, rape and procurement of women for prostitution, and vandalization of buildings. The high crime rate in the police barracks is inevitable because of the poor welfare situation. Due to poor public order policing approaches, police often clash with civic groups such as students, labor unions, etc. It is therefore not uncommon that university students, labor unions, angry mobs, and even soldiers on vengeance often target the police and their stations. Not even the politicians care about the police. They only find the police useful when they want to use them to rig election, harass and intimidate their opponents, or as bodyguards or errand boys for their wives. Often, they have been publicly attacked by angry mobs. You cannot have a viable democracy with strong institutions without law and order. And at the heart of democracy and strong institutions are the police, who are charged to maintain public order and peace, enforce law and order, detect, investigate and prevent crimes, and enforce judicial decisions.
I did say during all my pronouncements that we shall fight bribery and corruption, not only within the police service, but in this country, because we have a responsibility constitutionally to fight bribery and corruption, and we shall do that. It's an ongoing case.
Tom O'Connor, quoting Herman Goldstein, 1977, said that the functions of a modern police force are to prevent and control conducts that are threatening to life and property, to aid individuals who are in danger of physical harm, such as the victims of violent attacks, to facilitate the movement of people and vehicles, to assist those who cannot care for themselves, the intoxicated, the addicted, the mentally ill, the physically disabled, the old and the young, to resolve conflicts, whether it be between individuals, groups, or individuals and their government, to identify problems that have the potential for becoming more serious problems, and to create and maintain a feeling of security in communities. While there is no doubt that the Nigerian police have not lived up to this universal charge, However, the blame cannot be laid at their doorsteps alone. The police do not write laws. The legislature makes laws. The police do not hire and promote officers. The Police Service Commission is charged with the powers of recruitment, promotion, and discipline. The police do not make budgetary allocations. The Ministry of Police Affairs is in charge of budgets and procurement. What this means is that the police lack the necessary political support and oversight for effective performance and good conduct.
So there are so many things the police have to know. They must build in every state capital a forensic laboratory. Take graduates there, engineers, biologists, doctors, chemists, experts in biology. All this must be made available. And then to have in each state somebody who will be like Deputy Commissioner of Police in charge of those people. Not to be just left with Commissioner of Police. Because some of them, when they join police as graduates and they become ASP, their colleagues will become commissioners of police over them, and they will still be chief superintendent. Those are the things that must be looked into. Administrative reorganization. So I advise that the police be reorganized completely. Not that we have more policemen than necessary. We don't have enough. But better training for them. To train them, to control the crowd, to gather intelligence as they were in the old E-branch.
As Professor Etanibi Alemika said,
the police cannot be my friend or the government is my friend. Because what we always do the bidding of government. So as we talk about what to do with the police, we should not, especially the civil society, we should not lose sight of the fact that we cannot have the police we desire if we continue to have a government that we do not desire.
As we look forward to a major restructuring and reorganization of the Nigerian police force, we expect greater commitment and political will on the part of President Goodluck Jonathan to implement the various reforms recommended by various government committees on police reform and the Civil Society Panel on Police Reform, which recently submitted its own report to the President.
There is nothing the present government wants on the Nigerian police which has not been there from all the panel they have been setting up and all the suggestions. What they need is, one, change of attitude on the middle cadre and the junior cadre in the Nigerian police force, and some few bad eggs at the top hierarchy, and the government to fully fund and support the police, and finally the Nigerian public to cooperate. Police has no magic. There is no magic in crime detection and provision of adequate, ideal, and secured security. No magic. It is the cooperation of the populace that will encourage them to record success. That is the truth.
The police must be depoliticized, and the President must show the courage and support a constitutional amendment to remove operational control from the executive and vest it in the Inspector General of Police, who is the professional in the field. The procedure for the appointment of the Inspector General of Police must be made more inclusive, participatory, and transparent to enable public input into the process through a legislative public hearing. The Inspector General of Police must enjoy fixed term and security of tenure and some operational autonomy to act impartially, professionally, and effectively. The Inspector General of Police must be accountable to multiple constituencies, including the law, the executive, and the people, through representative structures to enhance independence, impartiality, and professionalism. The process of recruitment must be transparent and devoid of corruption to ensure that qualified candidates are recruited. Training must be based on human rights and must cover areas such as intelligence and investigation, including forensic science, to discourage crude approach to police investigation.
The intelligence rules of the Nigerian police system have to be accurately backed up. We have to have so many trained police officers doing the work of intelligence. Intelligence officers are so important in Britain, in America. That is precisely the kind of thing that goes on. If you live on the street, there's a police who is detailed to be on this list. He will know any new person that has come and all that.
Remuneration and insurance packages must be adequate to enhance the commitment and dedication of police officers towards the discharge of their duties, because lack of commitment has been identified as the bane of the police profession.
Why would a policeman in this country earn less than 50,000 naira in a month? Is there any moral justification for that? Is there any reason why a policeman in this country will not have a good accommodation to house him and his family? Is there any reason we will not have vehicles conveying policemen from point A to point B of their duty? I tell you something, if you go to any developed world, if you see a policeman in uniform, that policeman is on duty. If he is not on duty, he has no business being in uniform. But here in this country, because of the distance between his place of work and where he resides, he dresses from home in the hope that his uniform will help him to hitchhike. In Lagos here, I was a young officer in Lagos, and we had municipal buses, Lagos Municipal Transport. We have Benson, Oshinowo, the City Council bus, and everyone. And each of these bus operators had bus passes that they send to the police. And so if you are sending a policeman on an investigation or on an official assignment, you give him a bus pass. So he enters the bus, presents his bus pass to the conductors, and occupies a decent seat, respected. But what do you see today? You see policemen hanging on the doors of buses because they are not paying. Some of them have to wear uniform in order that they may get lift by good-spirited Nigerians. That's not good for a police force. That belongs to the biggest black man country in Africa.
There must be an effective punishment and reward system in the police. The community will only be encouraged to partnership with the police if the community is convinced that the police are truly their friends, if they do not prey on them, but protect and provide services to them. To change the police, we have to change our national orientation and values. In order for the police to serve and protect with integrity, we must provide for them both the tools and the dignity they deserve. We must provide qualified and competent leadership.
I, for one, am ready to offer myself, I'm ready to offer my service to Nigerian Police Force, to Nigerian Police children in doing this. We need to do more about the environment. Yes, let the government be doing something about corruption. We have some NGOs working, NOPRIN is there, CLEAN is there. We have a lot of them working on corruption and all those things. But at least we need to quickly address the area of environment. The police environment is terrible, is very, very bad.
It will coordinate with military intelligence. The country will be more at peace. You see what we are having now, Boko Haram. If intelligence has been very good, and intelligence can be very good only if the armed forces, the police, they have this intelligence section and they cooperate, they exchange notes, the country will go further. So the scientific laboratory, the intelligence gathering, all this will help. It's not the gun that they carry that that can bring peace. It's in discovering what will likely lead to a breach of peace in good time that can save the country.
We cannot have the police we deserve unless we have the government we desire.
Yes, Christmas is here again. Come have fun at the CBS Family Fun Fair from December 7 to 26. 1 Continental Day of CMB Road, Magodo, Lagos. Dates 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily. Get to play on the bouncing castle, jump on the trampoline, and play with friends in the swimming pool. Exciting games, dancing competition, visit to Santa Claus, great gifts, and lots more. All for just 1,000 Naira. For participation and inquiries, call 0708 066 8003 to 4. 0708 066 8003 to 4. The CBS Family Fun Fair. Experience fun like never before.